I've just spent a week with this Hyundai Santa Fe and it has really changed my mind. Not only in that it might have dethroned the Land Rover Discovery as being the go-to 7-seater SUV, but also that it might have overtaken the Volvo XC90 at being the thinking person's SUV. This Hyundai Santa Fe is that good. I mean, this is a car that can drive for you, cleans you, and will even tell you off. Stop telling me off. Now, before I tell you about those unique features, I want to show you the car's design because it is really cool. Now, firstly, Hyundai has thrown a lot of H's onto this car. The first is visible here in the headlights, so that obviously is a nod to the brand name. There's also another one, and it's much bigger on the front, and it's this one here. I hadn't noticed it until just now. There are many more in the car. We'll show you them as we walk around and when we get inside. But firstly, let's just look at the front of this car and decide whether it looks a lot like a Land Rover Discovery, because I think the Land Rover Discovery 2 and 3 have provided enormous inspiration for this front end. Basically this bit forwards. What do you think? The alloy wheels, they're 20-inch wheels on this top of the range car, and they come interestingly wrapped in summer rubber, not all seasons. I think it kind of emphasizes the focus of this car. You've got a really long glass house here, but you've also got a really long rear door, which should provide good access to the rear bench. We'll see if that makes access into the rearmost seats easy as well. I'm going to show you in a little bit what this weird flappy bit of plastic is about. Is it just bad build quality or does it have a purpose? We'll show you in a little bit. And now for the most controversial part of the exterior. Some might say the rear is giving soccer mum. And I don't think that's by accident, because obviously one of this car's target markets is the US, and that sort of explains its size. From a UK angle, well, the rear of the car is different, isn't it? And I like it because of that, but in no scenario, even when it's obscured by muck, does it look anything close to pretty. But sort of like the Ioniq 5N, but in a very different way. It's like an 80s interpretation of the future. And I think that's most clear in these lights, actually, which, yes, have a pair of H's in them as well. And if you're thinking, is that it? There are way more inside. Now, it won't take me long to show you the next H, the first one that's inside, because if I lift up this automatic tailgate, it is right here. Look at that. And also there's something interesting before we look in the boot. Have you ever seen a vertical strut on a boot lid before? I haven't. It's quite interesting. Now in here, there is a lot of space. Obviously it's a big car, but because we've got two seats there, it's quite impressive to see how flat they fold away. Just usable space above them is really good, and there's not tons under here. In fact, there's very little. You've got a tiny bit of space down there, but otherwise the space is used up by this stuff. But what's really important is how easy it is to get to those rear seats. So this obviously is good if you've got items in the back, but it's also very easy to remove it like this and access those rear seats. They're really easy to lift up as well because they're not that heavy. You just lift them like that. Now, normally, if you were saying you'd climb in through that door there, but for demonstration, I will climb this way to show you that it isn't too bad in here. Obviously, it's a space for kids, so I'm not fitting perfectly. If you want to get adults in here, it is possible, and we'll show you a shot of that now, because you can slide these seats forward. But even in their most rear setting, this is going to be okay for children. So obviously you've got a kid there and a kid here. Soccer mums, though, you'll be sad if you find yourself in the back. You won't be able to get your US bottles in there. That's for normal size cups, but at least you get two there and two there as well, which is very generous. Also, we've got our own controls for fan speed, so you can adjust it down there with your vents on either side. You've got USB-C as well, and on this side we have this plug port here, but UK buyers will have to buy an adapter for that. I think European spec plug. You've also got good amounts of headroom in here, which is quite a surprise given that I'm sat at an elevated position. And you've also got a bit of sound system. We've got a speaker there and we've got subwoofer speaker down there. So there's definitely a party in the back. Now you might not have noticed that when I pressed the button to slide the seat forward there, it also slid forward on its rails, meaning climbing out is just a simple affair. I don't have to press the button there and then pull a handle down there like you do in so many other cars. It's quick, easy, and there's tons of space. And then there's this here, which initially looks like they haven't finished putting the panels on properly, but then you realize it's actually handle so you can climb up and access the roof rack. Remember I said it was a party in the back? Well, turns out it's business class in the front because you've got lower leg support. And there is actually another cool feature, but it's specific to the front. So I'll show you that when we jump into the front seats. But first, let's look at this middle row, because it is actually really good. Now, if you've got no one in the back, you can have these seats set all the way back like I showed you before. And in that case, well, there is a really good amount of leg room, good knee room, okay foot room, tons of headroom no matter the setting. And the space on this bench is good as well. For two people here, this is going to be a comfortable experience. And the middle seat passenger, while it's not as wide, the floor is actually quite flat, so it's going to be pretty comfortable. You've also got quite a few cup holders here that are worth mentioning, because there are loads of cup holders across this car. So we had the 4 in the back, you've got 2 in here, and then you've got 3 in the doors. Not only do you have 2 up top, but you've got 1 lower down. Not seen that before. There's no ski hatch here though, which is a small negative, I'd imagine. Now this bench is split into 2 halves because of that. So it means I can slide forward and back and they can stay in one position. But if I were to slide the whole thing forwards, we can show you how much extra room that clears for a passenger in the back. So if you've got friendly people in the middle here who can sacrifice a bit, it's not too bad. You can definitely get 3 rows of smaller people in this car. Storage space is interesting in the back too, because not only do we have pretty good storage in the back of the seats here, and they're not like fabric, it's solid, you've also got shared storage with passengers in the front. You can access the armrest and rotate it in an opposite direction to them, and you can also access the lower section of storage too down there. But that does mean you don't have vents in the middle here. The vents are positioned over here, but you don't have a climate adjustment setting. So unlike the passengers in the back that can actually change the fan speed, we can't in this area. We have to stick with what the front passengers have. At least in this top grade model, we do have heated seats. And if you don't like the sun, well, you can lift up these window blinds here, which are quite fiddly. But if you love the sun, well, you've got this nice sunroof above you here, which is separate to the one you get in the front. And actually, before I show you the front, I should show you how this thing drives. So, is this very big Santa Fe comfortable to drive on a very bumpy British road? Things get off to a very good start because the default setting in this car is Eco. There's no normal mode, and that's because this is a hybrid, a self-charging hybrid as well. So the focus is obviously on fuel efficiency and ease of use. And what's good about that is Eco mode drives like a normal car, except it's being really smart, saving me fuel all the time. And also, another thing I love about this car is that we have adjustable regen. And not just adjustable regen when you're going into the menus and changing the settings, I mean on the paddles here, because I can increase the regen or lower it, make the car more efficient, and also turn it into a 1-pedal driving mode. So it's really easy, really comfortable to drive. Now the ride is actually really good. It is comfortable and it's soaking up the bumps nicely, but it has a sense of solidness that you only get in Land Rovers and big proper SUVs. It doesn't feel like a car pretending to be an SUV, it feels like a proper SUV. And this is actually the all-wheel drive model, so we have got power going to front and rear, although for eco reasons, most of the time it's only going to the front. We can change the drive modes and it will go into snow and mud according to the system. So it feels pretty tough and pretty Land Rover-ish, although let's be frank, what car would you rather hit a flood in? I'm not sure you'd want to do it in a hybrid Hyundai. This is definitely a more road-focused machine. If you're wondering if that SUV-like ride is going to give you car sickness, because some people, let's be frank, they get into an SUV and because it's a bit wallowy, they get a bit queasy. Well, handily, because this car is road biased, it doesn't feel anywhere near as wallowy as a traditional SUV. In fact, it goes around corners pretty well. This over 2-ton car is able to achieve 35 miles per gallon for me on this run, and I haven't been driving it particularly sensibly. I know from my earlier driving that getting into the 40s is perfectly fine. Bearing in mind it's heavy, but it's also blunt and shaped like a brick. That's pretty good.
If you want even more efficiency, there is a plug-in hybrid Santa Fe with around 30 miles of electric range. But with the added requirement for you to charge it overnight, it's not going to be as convenient as this self-charging car.
Now, one of my favorite things about this car is the driver assistance features you get. And normally they can be really annoying. And actually, yes, in this car, there are some very annoying ones, which you do have to dive into the menu to switch off. And the one that annoys me the most is the eye attention one, because it actually tells you off when you go to turn it off. See, I'm looking down at that and it's, oh, what? Come on, stop telling me off. Super frustrating. But once you figure that out, there's some very useful tech aboard this car, not least the visibility enhancing stuff. So if I wanted to turn into the right lane here, if I indicate right, the door mirror's camera allows me to see what is in my blind spot. So I can't perfectly see, especially low down, but on that camera I can see there. So if there were to be a cyclist there or just a very small person, I'd know they're there. And now the car is telling me off for using other screens. Of course, another area where having all that visibility is good is when you're parking, because this is a big vehicle. It's just a bit shorter than the Land Rover Discovery, although it doesn't look it, but it feels pretty compact. And honestly, that sounds a bit crazy, but it is pretty good. Let me demonstrate. If I park next to this Jeep over here, we're obviously choosing all American cars today to emphasize the theme. I've got all my beepers. I can see in the door mirrors, so I didn't actually really need to look at the cameras, but I also have the above view here. Plus, I've got a 360 camera as well. That's more of a gimmick, I think, in this scenario, but it will probably be useful if you were to be navigating through a width restriction. Honestly, the visibility is really good for such a big car. Now, there's another quite nifty visibility feature in this car as well, and it's related to this mirror because, of course, this being a 7-seater, it's likely you're going to have people in the back blocking your view. If there's no one in the back, I have to say, because there's a vertical tailgate, like a completely vertical one, there's quite a large amount of glass to see through, so visibility is better than your average SUV. But if you've got kids in the back or you have a cameraman taking up the middle seat, well then you're probably going to not see much through that. What you're going to have to do is switch the camera mode on. And then you've got a camera from the rear spoiler on the back of the car pointing down at the road behind you. And it works really, really well when the weather is okay. I have to admit, when it was a bit wet this morning, it was getting a bit misty. I could just about make out cars, but it wasn't quite as sharp as it would be with a clear mirror. But really, it's fixing a problem, which is when you can't see anything, it's better to see a little thing. Wait, a little bit. Now, if you're in the market for a 7-seater SUV and you want to see which of them is best for you, well, you can use a tool that I've been using all day, and it's actually the compare tool on the Cinch app. You can choose, for example, a Santa Fe, and you can compare it to a Discovery and an XC90 and more to see which is best for you. And when you've whittled down your choice, you can come down to a Cinch store and see those cars in the metal for yourself. Now, earlier I said that this car was ready to take on the Discovery and the XC90, and that's because up front in the interior, there are key things that really, I think, threaten those cars. Now, the first is for the XC90 because it's comfort related. Now, the seats in this car are really, really nice. They're not as maybe cushioned as the ones you get in an XC90, but they're certainly just as supportive. And there's another feature I really like about them, especially the one here, because I can adjust the passenger seat from the driver's seat. So if someone sits there, gets out, and they've left it in an awkward, annoying position, people like me who hate that, well, we can set it in the correct place. And you might have noticed, by the way, on this leather trim, we've got 3 more H's here. They're on this seat and that seat as well. But they're not the last H's in the front of the interior. The last one is hidden in Morse code, and it's this one here. Now, I don't like it because even though apparently that means H, I think it just looks like when you peel the badge off, so the Hyundai badge has been peeled off, and I think it looks like the bit you get left with underneath. I don't know, what do you think? But overall, this is a nice steering wheel. It goes with the comfort theme because it's just simple and cleanly designed. And then I mentioned the Discovery, and that's because of the technology up front here. Of course, this has a big curved screen. It's slightly different to what we've seen in other Hyundais because it's got this really cool curve effect to it. And also the graphics, that everything tilts towards you as a driver. So it does feel really cool and it is nice to use. I mean, the reactivity is great and you've got wireless CarPlay and Android Auto as well. So no complaints there. And the same goes for that screen as well. It's just easy to use. There's more tech down here, but it's slightly, well, I think it lets the tech down a little bit in the sense that we've got manual controls for climate, which is brilliant, means it's really easy to use on the go. But these are touch sensitive buttons. Now, they work fine, they look really good, but it means you have to take your eyes off the road and look down at them to adjust on the move. It's not as simple as when you can just feel for a button. So that's a small negative there, although I have to admit, it does look quite nice. This leads me onto this section here, which is a very, very cool part of the car and a really high-tech part of the car. And I feel like it's targeting an American audience because look how big it is. There's space for 2 phones here, 2 wireless charging mats, and I like the fact that when you put your phone on them, you get this little green bar light up here to show you it has worked. And it works really well and really quickly. And your phone doesn't slide around because this is a very grippy rubber. Down here, we've got 2 USB-C ports. They can be changed from just charging your phone to also being data transfer as well. So you can connect to the infotainment system. And then to the left, you might be thinking, why is there a UVC button down here? Turns out it doesn't turn this into a place where you can dry your wet, glossed up fingernails. No, apparently this is where you can put your phone in there close the lid and turn on the UV light. It cleans your phone, removes the bacteria. What a brilliant 21st century invention that is, and so useful for all of us. And it also means it encourages you to put your phone away and just drive the car. And here is potentially the most American part of the car, because this is super-sized or Stanley mug-sized cup holders. So this will take my Texan Bucky's cup easily. And you'll look in here. Now this, firstly, it opens in this direction from the rear. It's quite cool. Look, it opens in this direction from the front to expose an enormous amount of room. There's a little tray in here, so you can put stuff at the top there. But further down, well, it goes really far down. So much so, actually, that I can get a proper right angle in there. God, you could lose someone in that. Really useful storage, and it's quite hidden away as well. It goes under those cup holders. And storage in the front is actually very good. You've also got more space for cups in the door. You've then got, on top of the storage space with the UV thing in there, you've got a little shelf in there, and the glove box isn't too bad as well. It is a big, functional, usable front that's comfortable, high-tech, looks nice, stupid badge there. It's really good, isn't it? And by the way, this to an American is small when you park it next to an actual American. You're probably not surprised to hear that I really like this Hyundai Santa Fe. And you know what? There's another reason to really like it. And this one is especially important for a car that will have family duties. And that is that it comes with a 5-year warranty, which is 2 years better than you get with a Discovery and an XC90. Although, for half the price and half the size, and yet still with the same number of seats, there is a genius car from Citroën, and you're going to have to watch the video here to see how it manages to be bigger on the inside than on the outside. And if you're happy to trade 2 seats but to gain 2 cylinders, there is a BMW which will leave all of these other SUVs in its dust, and it's in this video here.